Advanced materials are the key enabling technology in a broad range of industries. For incorporating heterogeneous elements, 70% of new products will require innovative materials, and the impact of new materials over the next decade is estimated over $3 trillion. But bringing a new material to the market is a common challenge. Materials producers are spending $41 billion every year on materials innovation and reducing time to market, but still 60% of their efforts fail. Within the material design problem, we are always trying to understand how we go from raw ingredients and treatment processes to a set of desired target properties in our product. In this very complex and highly dimensional design space, there are endless possibilities of ingredients combination and ratios and processing conditions that define the final characteristics of a product. Only a tiny fraction of these possibilities has been or can be experimentally investigated. We are interested to rapidly explore this potentially new design space in a systematic way to find new materials that perform better than what has been known so far. And the huge majority of natural science problems typically fall under this category. And also there are scenarios in a design problem that the space may not be as vast as the previous category that I mentioned, but the problem is complex enough that we cannot run experiments or simulations to truly investigate the space. Current state-of-the-art experimental and computational methods of material development are not a feasible approach for efficient exploring of the design space. They are somehow unsustainable. They are extremely resource intensive and time consuming. And because of the nature of R&D, materials data is limited, sparse, and expensive to obtain. It can take from 10 to 25 years and tens to hundreds of millions of dollars for a new material to reach from the lab to the market. So materials companies miss market opportunities and struggle to respond quickly to their customers. Materials informatics is fundamentally changing approaches for materials R&D. Materials informatics is the data-centric approach for accelerating innovation and product development by using different informatics tools. Physics-informed machine learning and artificial intelligence are creating the ability to use this complexity in material design as a competitive advantage to guide material research, implement data-driven strategies, and accelerate data materials and product development. Materials informatics improves agility, manufacturing intelligence, and efficiency in your production. It increases the customer responsiveness. It increases the resiliency to supply chain and regulatory changes, and it speeds up time to market. The insights from the informatics tools support the decision-making in trade-offs in performance, cost, and sustainability, and it also contributes to reduce environmental impact by lowering emission and reducing waste and more efficient energy, water, and raw material consumption. All of these means a more profitable, sustainable, and scalable production. Material informatics provides an AI-powered and systematic approach for materials and product development applications that considers a large set of materials and processing variables and involved phenomena and provides new feasible development and processing solutions. The informatic tools include materials and processing aware AI that uses unique algorithms tailored to the complex data environment of materials and manufacturing. Also, data management, which represents materials data and knowledge, analytical framework for an integrated learning approach, and domain knowledge integration for incorporating scientific and business expertise. Material informatics provides solutions at many points in the material and product life cycle for design and development of new material, for prediction and improvement of the properties of the existing material and products, also for the optimization. One of the main topics of the discussion of the workshop on March 27 will be the challenges faced by the industry for materials and data development and the solution that materials informatics approach offers, plus case studies that demonstrate the value of these approaches both on the production and business side. Materials are such unique cases when it comes to artificial intelligence. But what is the reason? Why can't we just use the machine learning methods that have been broadly applied to other fields like finance or e-commerce for so long? Why can't we just take those same tools and use them for materials applications? There are few challenges in materials that makes them different from traditional machine learning applications. The first one is data format. It's true that in traditional AI applications, you might have heterogeneous data, which is most cases you don't. In materials applications, our data is highly heterogeneous. We get it from a lot of different resources in a lot of different formats, and it typically requires extensive feature engineering. Feature engineering is how we turn raw material data into something that is readable and useful for machine learning. For example, if the raw data is an image, we need some kind of transformation to make it readable for machine learning. Next is data volume. In a lot of machine learning applications, we talk about big data, millions or billions of data points. But this is not the case in materials applications. Our data sets are small. Each data point can cost tens of thousands of dollars to run new experiments, so we cannot get them for free. Another challenge is data bias. Machine learning models require data that includes a range of measurements. It needs failures as well as successes. Without it, the models will never predict a failure. So the R&D publications tend to bias towards successful results, and data from previous failed experiments is often not available. The next challenge, which is also an opportunity in my opinion, is that what we have is that we have established domain knowledge. We know physics, and we can use that to our advantage. And we want to get meaningful information back out of these machine learning models. And we care about why the models are making given predictions. And the next challenge, we also really care about uncertainty quantification. Each recommendation for a new design means investing lots of money, so we need to understand the output of the models. And then the last is the prediction task. We are not just trying to do simple pattern matching in many cases. We are trying to find materials that are better than anything in the training set. And we are trying to extrapolate, and there is fundamentally a different goal compared to many applications of machine learning. So now I'm going to dive into more details about these challenges and how we approach them. So the first challenge that I mentioned is data format. Artificial intelligence applications like consumer behavior and business intelligence obtain data from structured sources, such as forms, surveys, and website analytics tools. In the material and manufacturing industry, data comes from many different resources, and it can be from test data, simulation data, reference data, or supplier data sheets. And it comes in many, many different formats. We have microstructured images, processing equipment, chemical formulas, X-ray diffraction data, and the list goes on and on. This means our data sets are often highly heterogeneous and very unstructured. Integrating data from different resources requires a deep understanding of materials and detailed information on the pedigree of the data. To use this diverse data, First, we need an easy way to get our data into a centralized database. And we also need a way to structure the data that has the right balance of flexibility and uniformity. This can be done by using a data model to capture the history of a material, including raw ingredients, processing steps, and testing parameters. So this will help material developers to relate to digitized version of the material to the material itself. So the next challenge is data volume. The phrase big data is commonly associated with artificial intelligence and machine learning. Companies with millions of customers or thousands of sensors can quickly and cheaply collect billions of data points, and in a very controlled way. In materials, each row of data can cost months of time and tens of thousands of dollars to obtain. Available data sets are often small and incomplete, and here we are talking about like 100 data points or sometimes even less. Suppliers, for example, may not provide a data point that is unfavorable for their product, leaving a hole in the data set. So a machine learning approach for materials has to work with a small and sparse data sets. To overcome this challenge, we are using a technique called transfer learning, in which information from one data set is used to inform a model in another. This has been an effective tool for connecting sparse data in the material space while we can maintain the differences in the core measurements. The next challenge is data bias. Bias in data sets is common in all artificial intelligence applications, but there are two unique forms of sample bias which are exclusive to material data. The first one is lack of failed data. Machine learning models require data that includes a range of measurements. We need failed data, also success data. And no matter how advanced the algorithm, it cannot accurately evaluate if a candidate material can meet performance criteria if it does not have a distribution of successes and failures in the training data. R&D data and scientific publication have a tendency towards successful results, and data from failed experiments just simply won't be captured and recorded. And the second bias is process and measurement variations. Processing equipment can cause variations in sample measurements, even at the same composition. These variations can be different by equipment choice, measurement techniques, and also the person performing the experiments. And there are 3 strategies that can help material data against sample bias. First would be testing and measuring reference samples to normalize results. Second, using materials-specific cross-validation techniques when training machine learning models to avoid overfitting to biased data. And third would be treating data from unsuccessful and failed experiment as assets in order to encourage sharing all valuable information for future research and development. So the next challenge, or as I said, the opportunity is domain knowledge. The laws of physics and chemistry are not applicable in typical machine learning applications. Data scientists in consumer or business intelligence application can rely on large data set and out-of-the-box algorithm to analyze data and find new insights. In the case of materials, with a sparse data set, it is critical to integrate domain knowledge into the machine learning workflow. The first place this happens is when we are choosing which candidate material to predict properties for. This can be based on a database of candidates from previous work, or a set of rules can be created that reflect scientific knowledge of which candidates are physically possible and likely to be good. Domain knowledge can also be built directly into a machine learning model. Known analytical relationships and correlation can be built into a model to increase accuracy that take us to a better prediction and quicker R&D results. And about the uncertainty, in many commercial machine learning applications, prediction uncertainty has little consequences. For example, for a movie streaming service, if there is a 20% uncertainty used to recommend next movies, if it has like plus or minus 1 point in the 0 to 5 scale, this would have little impact on what movie a user would watch. But a 20% uncertainty in a materials property could determine the next trial for a costly experiment. So quantifying uncertainty in each model and each prediction helps material developers to understand machine learning models' output, act on model prediction, and choose the best experiments. Visualization and showing the likelihood of reaching performance targets can also guide R&D direction and project selections. And the last challenge is the prediction. Artificial intelligence is great for pattern recognition. Typically, a model is trained on a large data set of known information, and the model accurately predicts into which category a new example fits. For example, if we have a large set of roses and sunflower pictures, we might be interested to know, can a model accurately predict if the next photo is a rose or sunflower? But in material design, we are not interested in finding existing common cases. The goal is to explore higher performing and outlier materials that push the limits of existing properties. Active learning is the approach to address this challenge. An initial data set can be used to train a machine learning model that suggests which candidate to make and test next. And the result from new experiments will improve the accuracy of the model and get closer to the desired property or performance profile. This process ensures that experiments are selected with data-driven insight rather than trial and error, which result in reducing the number of experiments, time, and cost to meet R&D goals. So here is the end of my presentation for today. So materials informatics is unlocking new possibilities in the field of materials and manufacturing. And in the workshop on March 27, I will introduce participants to different applications of AI for materials and product development and manufacturing processes. And I will cover basic concepts on how AI and domain knowledge can be leveraged to accelerate processes and innovate new products. The workshop is intended for industrial professionals, researchers, business leaders, and managers who would like to have a deeper understanding of artificial intelligence applications in material science and engineering, and no previous AI knowledge or coding experience is required. So thank you, everyone, and I look forward to meeting you in person in Antec, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Maryam. Let's take some questions from the Q&A window. And I have a few questions to start off with. Can you discuss a learning curve for someone to learn to use AI Materia to find possible solutions for an application?
At the very beginning, when we start with a project and we bring in the AI application, it needs a little bit of time in order to train the AI model. So it could be different for each project, and by that I mean it depends very much on the data available in order to train those AI algorithms. So if we have a very good amount of data in terms of what the customer has, or the historical data that is available for a project, that is the best way to accelerate the whole training for the AI algorithm. And then every time, but with every interaction, this AI engine that is being implemented for a specific material development process or for a part optimization gets smarter every time. And after a while, it understands the correlations by itself what is happening at the properties of the product at the end, and also on the starting material and chemistry that is involved over there, and also the physics of the process. So it could be different, but very much depends on the availability of data.
Okay, next question I have. How often are new data sets introduced into AI Materia for training?
So at the very beginning, all we need is data. So without data, there is no point of using AI algorithms. So what we do is start finding the best model that works for the specific project. And then as soon as it happens, so all we do is training the algorithm with the data set in order to find the best performance for a data. We have to do as I mentioned, the feature engineering of the data, and also the fine tuning of our AI models to find the best performance. So the frequency, it's at the beginning is as much as possible. That would be easier for us to train the models.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Oh, hear me? Let me check here. You mentioned the data available is limited. Do you have to focus on one particular material or a portfolio of materials? Is there a minimum amount of data required for this to be useful?
So the availability of data is one of the, I would say, major challenges for us. But we have our ways. So we can start with, we had a data set just starting with 50 data points. That is something that we started to do, and then we could get some meaningful result. But at the same time, there are some other strategies. So we can help to provide an adaptive design of experiments in order to generate some data in a shortest number of the experiments possible in order to help the models to be trained. And also we have some algorithms for mining and scraping data from literature, and also the public and private resources that we have access to. So if the project is very original, so we can only rely on the historical data of that specific project, or we should do some design of experiments to generate data. But if it's not very original and already there are some publication in terms of that project, so this is what we do to help to mine more data for training the models.
Okay, my next question. Can you please comment on your company's strategy or the general ability to protect these AI material capabilities with patent applications?
So what we are working, so our strategy at the moment is we do not have any claims on the data that comes to our system or the output that is from our system. So our business is on the technology side. So the algorithm, which is our IP, and the AI engine stays with us, but everything else stays with the customer or with the project that comes in our company.
Okay, next question. Could you provide an example for the AI related to DOE, process improvement? Are there minima for data inputs related to a process, for example, rheology, pressure, temperature, that would allow the AI to think through a solution?
So in terms of design of experiments, so every project that comes in, there are some targets, and what we call it is a multi-objective optimization anyways for the whole AI modeling. So we try to focus on those, and based on those objectives, we design a new set of experiments, and then we try to stay with the very minimum ones. So every time we suggest a few experiments, and then take those back to our system in order to retrain our models. And then if it's not enough and you see there is a need for more data, and then the performance is not the best, then more experiments will be suggested. So this is what we call it adaptive design of experiments. So it's if there are needs for characterization, as you mentioned about the rheology and maybe some characteristic of the product at the end, these are something that sometimes we have to do. So and this is how we call ourselves, but we are a complementary service to the workflow of a project. So we are not replacing trial and error. We are not replacing computation. We are just trying to accelerate the whole thing by providing insights from the data from those approaches.
Okay. Thank you, Maryam, for an enlightening presentation. Do you have any final comments?
Thank you very much, Barbara, and the SP team for all the arrangements for this webinar. And I'm looking forward to meet you all at the Riantech. Thanks so much.